Thanks for watching on Nile TV International, exclusive with Taghreed Hussein, and we're really honored to have with us His Excellency Ambassador Louis Dumas, Ambassador of Canada to Egypt. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us here on Nile TV International and this opportunity.
Well, thank you for having me.
And starting off with prospects of cooperation, we're celebrating 70 years of our bilateral relations.
I think, indeed, as you point out, it's been 70 years. It's quite incredible. We've had a very amazing journey. Canada and Egypt are two great friends. We've been friends for 70 years, and we're still great friends today. We're privileged in having approximately 300,000 Egyptian Canadians in Canada. And also we have approximately 25,000 Egyptian Canadians here in Egypt. So it makes for a very vibrant, relationship between the two countries.
Yes.
But beyond that, I think, we have successes in many, many different fields that I would like to share with you today.
They say that whoever drinks from the Nile waters would always be back. I know that Your Excellency has been with us here in Egypt back in 1993. So from 1993 to 2023, definitely lots of changes has happened in the country with the developmental projects in the new republic. How do you see this change?
Absolutely, and I did drink the Nile water, and I did come back. And indeed, I was here from 1993 to 1996. So I was here for approximately 3.5 years. So for my wife and I, it was a very special moment because this is where we started our family. And Egypt was very different back then. We're talking 30 years ago. At the time, there was no internet, there was no mobile phones. It was a very different type of life. However, one thing that has remained constant, from that time to this time, is the warmth and hospitality of Egyptians. So yes, we have bigger projects here in Egypt at the moment, better infrastructure, more roads, higher building, but the heart and the essence of the Egyptian people have remained the same. They were welcoming and hospitable 30 years ago, and when I came back 3 years ago, I found that existed still, and that made me very, very happy. I have to say I had so many friends coming over since I've arrived 3 years ago, and that has made me very, very happy. I think when I talk to my friends and I talk to people in Canada, when I talk about the fact that I work and live here in Egypt, they're always fascinated. They're fascinated by history, but I think there's much more than that. I think Egypt carries a reputation of being, again, a very welcoming, hospitable, friendly country where people can see amazing sights. I think here of the pyramids, I think of Alexandria, Luxor, Aswan, other places in Egypt, but it's much more than that. It's the people who make the country. One thing I say to people as well when I'm in Canada, I said, oftentimes in Canada or in the Western world, we think of civilization in terms of the Greeks and the Romans. And I keep telling people, I said, look, you must not forget that the Greeks and Romans, they came to Egypt to learn. So the great city of Alexandria, the importance of Egypt in the history of mankind is extremely important. So I remind people that Egypt is rightly so the cradle of civilization, Dunya. And I think it's very important we realize that.
Many files of cooperation, Ambassador, between Egypt and Canada. Among those files is the educational file, vocational education and vocational training as well as a focus.
Yes, there's no greater gift than the gift of education. Canada has been privileged over the past few years to really do great work in the space of education. And when we talk about education, as you point out, we can talk about universities. We have a number of Canadian affiliated universities here in Egypt, but also in the segment from K to 12, kindergarten to 12th grade, we have a number of schools here in Egypt that have adopted Canadian curriculum. And we have, over close to 20,000 students in the K-12 segment, studying a Canadian curriculum. So in addition to that, if that was not enough, in addition to that, we've developed with the Ministry of Information and Communication different programs so we can train Egyptian students at the master's level in artificial intelligence and also computer science in the smart city. So they're studying in the smart city, they're connected virtually with the University of, and they are receiving education at the master's level. And every year we expect approximately 100 Egyptian students will receive a master's degree. So we're moving ahead on many, many different fronts. And to me, that's the great success. It's investing in the youth of Egypt and investing in the future of Egypt.
Egypt is Canada's top trading partner in Africa, and I guess that we have managed to work together great in further boosting our trade exchange and volume of trade between both countries.
No, we're doing very well in respect to trade, as you point out. Number one in Africa. I think we have to recognize the position of Egypt in the region in respect to North Africa, the Middle East, Africa, Europe as well. So there's great opportunities here in Egypt. We've done really, really well in certain sectors. For example, we export from Canada a number of different products such as iron, airplane parts, but also we export critical, I would say, supplies to Egypt in terms of chickpeas, fava beans, lentils. Canada is a great producer, and we gladly export a number of our products to Egypt. So I always say to people, when you eat your koshari, there's a high degree of chance that the chickpeas and the koshari are from Canada. So it makes me very happy.
Since you've mentioned lentils, definitely more than one important Egyptian dish Tell me more about the favorite Egyptian dishes that you enjoy, Your Excellency.
I like to explore. A lot of people told me about molokhia. You know, you got to be careful about molokhia. You know, it's an acquired taste. But I decided, I say, hey, I'm going to try it. And I tried it and I loved it. I really, really liked it. So that remains one of my top foods. Koshari, I mean, I have to give it to koshari. And every time I have visitors, we have to go and have koshari. And they love it. Everyone has really, really enjoyed it. But to come back to the trade as well, we've done some really good work in the mining sector. So more and more companies in the mining sector are interested in coming to Egypt, going to the south of Egypt, doing exploration in Egypt. That makes me very happy. But I always tell the Canadian companies coming here, I said, look, you got to come to Egypt for the long run. You cannot come to Egypt and say, hey, I'm going to make a quick profit and out I go. I said, we have to give back to the good people of Egypt. And by saying that, I'm saying, make sure you invest in local infrastructure. You invest in schools. You hire local populations. And Canadian companies are very responsive to that. And I can see it in different parts of the country where we're seeing, great successes. And if I may, I'll give you the example of a Canadian company in Damietta has invested itself in creating entrepreneurship circles in Damietta. So they're training individuals to start their business, and these individuals are operating in the economy of Damietta and giving back to the community. So to me, it's a great success, and prosperity has to be a win-win situation.
Your Excellency, COP27 has been a hit here for Egypt, where all the world came to Egypt united to fight climate change. Tell me more about our sense of cooperation in the field of fighting climate change and the preservation of environment. Also among the files of cooperation is food security.
I think it's something that's very close to Canada's heart. And you mentioned COP27. I have to salute the excellence of Egypt in not only the preparation, but also in the delivery of COP27. I think, as you point out, we're all in this together. Egypt has set the stage for COP28 as well, which I believe will be a great success. And what I liked about COP27, the fact that it was in Sharm el-Sheikh, is that it brought attention as well to Egypt. And in the past year, we have the visit of 4 ministers from Canada to Egypt. We had our Minister of International Development, who came twice to Egypt. He was very, very interested in on the topic of food security, for example, from which we've managed to gain budgets and contribute to the fight of Egypt against climate change, about making sure that the availability of food is secured here in Egypt. We had our Minister of Environment coming to Sharm el-Sheikh, and he stayed with us for over 2 weeks. And I was amazingly impressed by the fact that he and his team and the Canadian delegation was so involved in the combat against climate change. We had our Minister of Transportation as well coming to Egypt. So I think it brought attention to Egypt, but we have to continue pursuing our efforts. I was very, very happy to see Minister Fouad, the Minister of Environment from Egypt, going to Canada recently to address, going to a conference on climate change. And we've been partner and will continue to be partner in that fight. Canada is a big country. It's a very, very big country. However, I think we're blessed with great open spaces. When I think of Canada, I think about the Rockies in the west of Canada. I think of the beauty of British Columbia. But at the same time, one should not discard the beauty of open fields, in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. If you go to Ontario, yes, you have great open spaces, but you have some very, very interesting communities. If I think about Southern Ontario, you have Toronto, which is an amazing city.